Hello everyone, this is Satish Kumar. So, this is the part 2 of the farm bills. Okay, we have seen the part 1. In the part 1, we saw about the farmers' produce, trade, and commerce bill. Now, we'll see the balance 2 bills. The second bill is the Farmers' Empowerment Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill. Okay. See, uh, as the bill title says, it is going to protect the farmers. What it is going to protect? It is going to protect on price assurance and farm services bill. Say, the farmers by this bill, no, he could enter into an agreement with somebody like a corporate retailers or wholesalers or agriculture business firms, agriculture manufacturing firm, a processor, anybody. He could enter into an agreement to sell his product. So there is going to be an agreement. So this is deals about contract farming. Okay, and this agreement is going to be a mutually agreed one, where the farmers and the buyers, buyers of the farming product, both are going to put in writing what is demanded on by each of them. For example, the company may say to the farmers that we will pay certain amount of money, certain fixed amount of money for getting certain fixed quality and quantity of product. Okay, and this should be in the writing, so that because the bill is agreement is made and it is signed, no, the farmers cannot be exploited later. If suppose the business firms is not paying the money to the farmers, no, the farmers could go to a dispute settlement mechanism, so that the farmers cannot be exploited as there is going to be an agreement. So this is why it is called a contract farming. So far something like could happen where the farmers could be exploited without a contract. So for example, the farmers initially may ask for a product and for a certain price, and the farmers may produce it. Once the farmers produce the product, the wholesaler or retailer, no, he may say that this product is not to the quality of what we said to you earlier, so we are not going to buy that same price that we said earlier, and we are going to give a less price, so that he would exploit. That cannot happen when there is a agreement. So that is why it is called the farmers empowerment and protection. By this method, the farmers will be protected because of a there is going to be a agreement. Okay, it is going to be mutually agreed, and both of them will know what it is expected of each of them. So the farmers know what he should produce and what he will get from the retailer, and also the retailer will or the wholesaler will know what he will give to the farmer as a price and what he will get as a product. Okay, so far everything is good. So and there will be a dispute settlement mechanism to solve if there is any exploitation done on any other side. Okay, so far so is good. Now let us see the pros and cons of this bill. Okay, the pros. See, as I said earlier, the major aim of the bill is that it is going to protect the farmers from exploitation by processors, wholesalers, retailers, or any business firms which are going to produce the product, procure the product from the farmers. And because they are going to have some dealing with the corporate or wholesaler or processors, no, they could also have access to modern technology and better inputs during their production. Okay, and that benefit will also be there because they are going to dealing with the corporates. Okay, and farmers could also have lesser price in delivering the products. There will also be chances that there won't be any intermediaries, since the farmers is directly dealing with the corporates or the processors or the wholesalers. So the intermediaries will not be there. So it is the bill is saying like that. but the intermediaries know they cannot be entirely eliminated, but to some extent they can be eliminated. Okay, and there is since there is a dispute settlement mechanism and there is an agreement, the farmers cannot be exploited by the corporate. That is what the government is saying. Now we will see the cons or the disadvantages of this bill. See, uh, although the government says that there will be an agreement and there will be a dispute settlement mechanism, however, the experts say that almost 82% of the farmers in India know are very small and marginal farmers, and they are not well educated. They don't know the details of legality of agreements. In fact, they may not even know what they are signing. Okay, and if suppose there is an exploitation is happened, no, they are not going to win in the dispute settlement mechanism, since they may not even know what is they are written in the agreement in the first place. Then they are not at all prepared to go to this procedure to the take it to the court for dispute settlement mechanism. They are not capable of such thing. Okay, they are not since the corporates and the wholesalers and the retailers, no, they will have so much idea in the legal matters, no, they are going to dominate them. So the farmer, the processors, wholesalers or the business firms, no, they will put all the favorable details in the agreement first hand itself. That could be so they could exploit the farmers. That is what it is said. The farmers are not capable of taking these matters to the dispute. So this bill is not going to be too much of help. That is what the disadvantage is. But although by this agreement there is a chance that the farmers cannot be exploited. Okay, the government intention here cannot be questioned, and the farmers could benefit from having contact with the processors and the retailers to have modern technology and better inputs, which will actually reduce the price of production, and they also reduce the price of production since they won't have any intermediaries. So we will also take a share of price. Okay, they are directly dealing with the processors or the retailers or the wholesalers. They are going to get all the benefit, the farmers. Okay, so that is this bill about. Here is also there is flip side, but the government intention is all here also very good. Okay, now we'll see the third bill. See, the third bill there is called the Essential Commodities Bill, and this is not a new bill, it is an amendment. In fact, this is an amendment to the Essential Commodities Bill Act of 1955, which was actually introduced to curb inflation at that time due to price rise of essential products. For example, in those times when the products, some of the essential goods, no, are scarce, are very scarce in the market, scarcity in the market. As a result, what the wholesalers, traders will do, no, they will hoard those essential products. They will have illegally store their product hoarding, so that the price of that product will go up in the market, and then they will sell. So this is a what they call this as illegal trading by hoarding the products. And to avoid this, government has made stock limits to these essential commodities. So any trader or businessman, wholesaler or anybody who buys agricultural products, they cannot buy they can only buy to a certain limit, and they can store only that kind of that amount of product in their storerooms or godowns. So what this did is, actually the intention of the government was good. In fact, it worked very well at that time, because that time the product is scarce. But now the times have changed, and what the government is saying, no, in the recent economic survey, the 2019-20 economic survey, it says that the economic essential commodities act 1955 is actually distorting agriculture trade. And how it is doing it is, the economic survey says is, see, since the essential commodities act is imposing stock limit for products, no, the traders, they won't buy more than that, okay, and because they are not going to buy more than that, they are not going to invest more on the goodowns, infrastructure, and for example, what you say, cold storage, warehouses. This kind of infrastructure have not grown well in India like a developed country, okay. This happened because the government has imposed certain stock limit, so there will not be enough investment in these kind of things. Also they won't buy uh, above the stock limits, and because they are not going to buy above the stock limits, the farmers sometimes will not have get enough buyers for the product, and sometimes if they are producing some perishable items, no, for example like tomato or potato, no, these will be perishable items, and if they didn't get enough buyers for their product, no, the farmers eventually will have to waste this product. It will become a wastage, and it has happened to the farmers, and because of this reason lot of farmers suicides happen. So the government is trying to say, by this bill we are going to reduce, by the bringing this essential commodities amendment bill, no, the government says it is going to remove the commodities which are all in the essential commodities, some of the essential commodities which are listed in the essential commodities, so that those products limit could be removed. As a result, the traders will buy more, the traders will invest more on the cold storage, warehouse facilities, and this will also encourage to get the farmers more profit. So they may not incur, in fact, like happened earlier, they may not lose wastage, they will never have wastage, which is happening a lot of time, okay. And this is the pro of or the advantages of this bill, okay. The farmers can sell the products, they can earn more, and the traders is going to invest on infrastructure, agriculture storage infrastructure like cold storage, warehousing facility. So the modernization of food supply, and there will also be another other benefit in the food supply chain area, okay. So this is the government's influence, and because of this there will be more investment from the both internal market, and also from the foreigners will invest in this area, okay. That can happen, that is the reason this bill is here, okay. So far so good. Let us see the disadvantages. See, if the stock limit is going to be relaxed, what will happen? In fact, why the government has put some of these products in the essential commodities? See, first of all, let us understand what are the essential commodities the government is intending to remove the stock limits. Some of the things that the government has listed as cereals, pulses, oil seeds, edible oils, onion, and potatoes. And all these products, no, are very essential consumption, or very day-to-day consumption for everybody, consumer like us, okay. And a price increases in these products, no, will affect us. In fact, another reason for having these products in the Essential Commodities Act is the government will monitor the price, the government will not allow the prices of these commodities to skyrocket, okay, okay, so that people could consume this product easily. Suppose if tomorrow, because of this act, the government is removing these kind of in fact the government is saying they are going to remove this, and it says these are the benefits. But what is going to happen is the traders and the um, buyers of this product, no, they will actually, since there is not going to be any imposition on stock limit, no, they will going to hoard these kind of products. And when they are going to hoard these kind of products, no, it will create an artificial demand in the market, and because of that artificial demand there will be a huge price rise. And when the price rise is huge, people will suffer, like us, we will suffer. Okay, in this bill, the farmers might benefit, and likewise the traders might benefit, but the common man like us, we will have to bear the brunt if the price is rising. And the government is saying that it will bring these commodities back to the essential commodities only during extraordinary times. It says only during some extraordinary times. And again it also says that it will bring, suppose if the price is going up, no, it has divided into two categories: perishable item and non-perishable items. So we know the onion and potatoes are the perishable items, and if these products prices increases by 100%, only then it will bring bought back to the essential commodity. For example, if onion is sold for 50 rupees, if the product of the onion goes above 100 rupees, only then it will be brought back to the essential commodities bill. Until then it will be there in the market. So for example, the government will not care even if it is goes to 80 rupees, 90 rupees, like that. And this price rises will affect the people like us. Okay, the second thing is non-perishable items like cereals, pulses, and these can be stored for a long period of time in the warehouses, and they could be sold later. And the government says that in this kind of bill 50% of the prices should go up. For example, if a product is 50 rupees, only when the product prices goes above 75, that is 76 rupees, only the government will interfere. So here also we have to face the price rise. Okay, but the government intention is clear. It wants the farmers to earn more, farmers not to incur loss of the product produce, and it also wants to improve the infrastructure of food supply chain, like warehouse, cold storage, and other things. And that's why it is coming. But this is the flip side, and these are all the reason. Since all bills have their own issues, no, this is the reason there is a parliament procedure, there is a debate, and there are standing committees in parliament to scrutinize a bill. And this government is, what it did was, it thought that this is good and we are going to pass it, we are not going to discuss it and delay it. Okay, and that is how this government is functioning. Okay, in fact some other issues also with this bill, because this is an agriculture bill, and we all know agriculture is a state subject, and the center is making a law on agriculture. But the center is saying that we are not directly dealing with agriculture, we are only care with interstate trade and commerce, and regarding other thing. Okay, and these are all in the concurrent list and the central list. So we know about this government. It could wake up the governor at midnight 3 o'clock, and president at midnight 2 o'clock to issue an thing, and bring a chief minister to a state. So it is not going to work on the legalities. And what it says is correct, it is not directly dealing with the agriculture, but the state is going to lose from this bill, because the mandi taxes will be lesser in states like Punjab and Haryana. It is a major source of revenue, so that is why that state is protesting. In fact, there is a lot of traders and other people will be affected. Even farmers are also concerned about this bill. That is why the protests are going in those two states. Okay, the government is trying to do something. In fact, an agriculture reform is very necessary, and the government is taking some steps. Okay, there is nothing wrong in that, but it should have been discussed, it should have been well communicated, Otherwise, if those things are done properly, if there is a standing committee, if the bill is scrutinized well, no, there will be there will not be this much of a fuss about this bill. Okay, but what we can say, it is happening like this and this government. Okay, okay, so this is the entire thing about this bill. um, I hope I have given some clarity. Read more papers to get a clear picture. In fact, a lot of articles have come already in multiple newspapers and magazines. Study all those things, get an opinion about it, and you will be well off to write any answer, any question answer regarding this area. Okay, thank you, bye. Keep subscribing and watching my channel, lot more to come.